focus and what it is here.
Energy.
And the message that you were telling people?
Well, the IRA, I never knew that the IRA had become so global so quick, and it really has, and people just misunderstand. And the intent of the bill, they'll just look at the intent. The intent of the bill was for energy security, and it was not based around all climate only. It was based about, can the United States of America have enough energy, enough horsepower to run our country, and for at least a certainty in the next 10 years. That's what it's all about.
How much of the...
When you say so global, though, you mean how much anger it created with other nations?
Well, the anger, it's certain. They think that it's protectionism. I said, we've never done anything in that piece of legislation saying, well, we're going to harm this or this or that. Our allies are very important to us, but I've seen with Putin weaponizing fuel, energy, and what it's done to Europe, and how topsy-turvy. I told President Macron, we were talking when he was in Washington, I said, Mr. President, listen, I can assure you, not one time did we ever talk about, does this have this effect or this effect or this effect. And we want to make sure that the United States of America, being the superpower of the world, should have energy security so we don't have to depend on Iran or the Gulf Coast or Venezuela to produce what we want to produce for ourselves. So that's what this does.
But to the extent that you're speaking to your allies here,
yeah.
Are they taking that message? Because the truth is, it is going to make it harder for them to do business in the United States.
I don't think so.
It's going to cost them more.
I mean, I just don't see that from the standpoint. And I said, but I'm happy to sit down and talk to you about that. I've had the German delegation. We talked to them. They're concerned about the autos.
Right.
I said, why would you be upset because the United States is trying to resurrect itself as a manufacturing powerhouse? I said, go ahead, Joe.
I'm going to go back to not worry about over here. You occupy such a unique place in the United States, and I know you know that.
I didn't run for that. Unique. And it happened.
Sometimes I think you're a national figure speaking for a lot of people in the country. Other times I see you speaking for your constituency in West Virginia,
okay,
which might be a little different than a national constituency. With Trump winning by 40 points or something. It's a very red state. So I've seen you go from hero to goat to hero to goat, depending on. There's sometimes when I'm like, if it wasn't for Joe Manchin, this country would be headed to the toilet.
I've heard that.
You've heard that. And then all of a sudden, I turn around and go, who is this guy? And what happened? And how did all of a sudden $1 trillion become more palatable than when you were holding the line against it?
Well, first of all, everything we were doing up to that point was spending. Send checks, spend, send checks. It's, And I said, that's just not who I am. I can't do the BBB because I thought it was absolutely an overreach, and we did not need that.
It's like a mini BBB.
No, it's not. There's nothing about the BBB in this except that we took the best parts that we could, that we all agreed on. These are things that I've worked for 5 years with Republicans. Republicans would tell me all the time, Joe, they would say, we need more energy. I said, I agree with you. We need more energy, be more independent. We need to start paying down debt. I agree with you. We need to start paying down debt. This is the first time we paid over $300 billion to debt out of the money we raised. Haven't done that for 30 years. And then they said, we've got to have permitting. We can't build anything quick enough. We did one heck of a permitting bill. I couldn't get a vote for it.
Was the permitting aspect of it necessary to offset all the renewable stuff, and then you didn't get that? So it's like the
renewable stuff. Here's what we did, Joe. If you look at the renewable stuff that we're doing, we have, I think, a responsibility to decarbonize, but not to the point and accelerate it until we have nothing left and we can't run the country.
Were you misled about the permitting? Did you feel
I wasn't misled. I'm discouraged that they didn't work harder to get it done, but I got 40 votes. What I was discouraged is that my Republican colleagues only gave me 7 votes when it's something that all of them had signed on to a bill that wasn't that much different. I said, if this is what we want, and they're afraid of giving me a political win, thinking it's going to help me politically.
What do you guys think?
And I'm just,
what do you guys think would be the greatest country to visit on your end?
A lot of people in West Virginia, I think, were it's hard enough to get a Democrat elected in West Virginia.
Your top 3.
If I start looking at everything I did and decisions I make, you said it was like this and like this, okay? If I thought about just me getting elected, I'm in the wrong. I've never done that. I've been in this 40 years.
top
look
three.
Joe Manchin, Democrat. That's Joe Manchin, this or that. That's Joe.
So you might be an independent, right?
I'm as independent as it gets.
Are you going to be an independent?
I'm not saying, I don't want to say fair, I want to say more like,
Person cinema.
Would you switch?
Well, I understand that. For political reasons, I mean,
the best country to visit.
I want to see whatever I have the best voice
on oil,
to understand. I'm not protecting, I'm not opposed to either side. I look at the best issues, I look at basically the best policies and do it.
They can
and
for the
laws,
that's not going to change.
and all kinds of things.
You change the filibuster, and Andrew, I'll tell you this, you change the filibuster, and you do not have three branches, equal branches of government anymore. Because what happens is the executive branch...
I'm not talking about attractions. I'm talking about oil supply, gas,
Democrat, and Mr. Strong, that's the leader of your party. They push him.
food supply, food chain, the market.
If they should, because first of all, we have to recognize we have $31.4 trillion of debt, public debt. No one's identifying that and thinking it's funny money, because when the interest rates are so low for so long, they just kind of play with it. And then on top of that, you have a situation where we don't have a projection of how we're going to get our finances under control. So I would talk to my friend Kevin McCarthy and say, Kevin, we can get bipartisan, bicameral group together and ask for a bill we call the Trust Act that Mitt Romney and I have worked on.
Are you guys friends?
Mitt's my dear friend, I think.
Guys, I did not just put that together like that and just say money. He just said money right after me.
What do you think of what's happening in the House right now? Well, on the Republican side.
Let me tell you, have you all looked at what's happened in the Ohio legislature?
I don't know.
You paid any attention to that?
Probably not enough.
Okay, here, the House, the Speaker just got elected. The Speaker of
I know it's not going to lean towards my
Republicans got elected with more Democrat votes to be Speaker than Republican votes.
Linear.
That's a coalition. So anything I would say to anybody,
audience,
Democrats, Republicans, and I never did understand this purity thing.
The people who focus on politics, because me, I like to worry. I worry sometimes, and I like to study on politics sometimes to make sure that we got good oil supply. Make sure where I'm living is halfway decent, or at least decent, or the best. I don't want to live in an area that's like Afghanistan and stuff like that, like those poor countries. It's you need to, there's people out there that you have to make they know about that. You just gotta make sure where you're living is safe. Sometimes I think about that stuff. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I think about that stuff. Sometimes I think, we're so lucky to have all this food, and this is why, United States is not the richest. But I don't know. Britain or United Kingdom, I think one of them are the richest countries in the world. But anyways, that's Joe Manchin or Joe Manchin on Squawk. I'll see you guys next time. I'm going to record this video and record a Brock Lesnar versus Randy Coulter video.